Perek Ches, Mishnah Beis. Hamoitzi Chevel. A person who takes out rope. How much rope would a person have to carry in order to be chayav hitzah on Shabbos? Kedei lasos ozen la kupa. It's enough to make a handle for a basket. A kupa is generally a larger item, a basket or a barrel, and therefore he would need some strong material such as chevel, such as rope, in order to make some sort of handle for it in order to carry it. So that is, if he carries that amount, then he'd be chayav on Shabbos. Gemi, some sort of rubber or flexible grass, reed grass, the article says, Kadei lasos tlai lenofov lichvora. He would be chayav if he carries an amount, a tlai, which is like a hanger for a nofov for chvora, for some sort of sieve and different types of sieve, a sifter and a sieve. Now, in those days, they would hang up the kitchen items on the wall. So you'd put a sort of a nail in the wall, and you'd hang it from the wall. So you'd need some sort of loop made out of this gemi, so this out of sort of rubber, flexible material, to make a hanger, as it were, for the sieve. The shear for this is smaller than the shear for the oizen lekupa. So you'd have a smaller sort of loop in order to hang it on there, as opposed to a larger piece of rope in order to carry the basket or the barrel. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, "K'dei litel mimenu midas minal lekoton." That he argues with the definition given for the gemi, for the hanger, for the sieve, but he says rather it's the amount, k'dei litel mimenu midas minal lekoton, enough to take the measure of a child's shoe. In other words, the person would take a bit of this gemi material and he would measure it against his son's shoe, and then he would take it to the shoemaker, and he would tell the shoemaker, look, this is how long my son's shoe is, can you please make a shoe which would fit? That's how Rabbi Yehuda learns. The Kahati brings the Meiri, who learns that Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on both measures, i.e. he would use either chevel or gemi for this purpose, and therefore he argues on both definitions of chevel and gemi. Continues the Mishnah. Niyar, paper, it's enough that a keshem moichsin, it's a tax collector's receipt is written on it. The Baratznur explains, Pa'omim sometimes, she'odom noised meches b'rosh hanaha. A person would pay tax at the head of the river. He needs to go down the river or cross over the river. B'rosh hanaha mizeh v'hu moisle chosim laharos lemoches shebeiva ha'acher min hanahar. And he would need to have a receipt from the tax collector in order, when he gets to the other side, that he could show the tax collector waiting at that side that he's paid the toll to cross the river. And the derech was that the tax collector would write two larger than normal letters. It's larger than two letters that we would normally write. So it's a piece of paper big enough for the tax collector to write his two letters, which is his receipt that the tax has been paid. And if someone carries a tax collector's receipt, he's going to be chayav. Now, this phrase in the Mishnah seems very difficult to understand. If we have just said that the shear, the measure of paper which a person has to carry in order to be chayav on Shabbos, is the size used for a tax collector's receipt, which is the size that he's write his two letters, then it's self-evident, it's poshut, that if a person actually carries a tax collector's receipt, that he's going to be chayav for carrying that. So what exactly does this phrase of the Mishnah mean? Hamoitzi keshem oichsin is chayav. It seems poshut that he's going to be chayav if he carries that. So Tosfos on Ayin Ches on the base in Shabbos explains as follows: that sometimes the moiches, the tax collector, will use ordinary paper, and sometimes he will use parchment. Now, parchment has a different shiur for the nile than regular papers. We'll see in the next Mishnah, Mishnah Gimel. And the chiddush is as follows: that even though a tax collector uses parchment, and the shear for parchment is a slightly larger shear, if he uses his parchment for his receipt, and he uses a smaller amount of parchment than is normally used to be chayav for on Shabbos, and he stamps his receipt on top of it, he writes his two letters on top of this parchment, then he would be chayav for that. That's how Tosfos understands. So even though normally parchment it's a bigger shear. If it so happened the receipt was made out of parchment and it's a smaller shear, since it has some sort of chashivus, therefore a person would be chayav if he carries that amount on Shabbos. Niyar mochuk, paper which has been erased, i.e. it's no longer suitable for writing, then the shear is the amount needed to wrap around the mouth of a small bottle of perfume, because it can't be used for writing anymore. It's been erased and it's all sort of smudgy, and therefore you can't write on it anymore. So its sole usage is to use it as a form of bottle stopper, that you would wrap it around a small bottle of perfume, and that would be used as a bottle stopper, and that's its only function. So therefore, niyar mochuk, erased paper, you would be the shear for that is the amount used to wrap around a small bottle of perfume, and if you carry that amount, you'd be chayiv for hitzah on Shabbos. That is the end of Perek Ches, Mishnah Beis.